Right then, we are back, second video in. So we've got quite an interesting one to take a look at today. So I've read a little bit about it, but I've not really tested it out myself, so I'm intrigued to see how we get on. So it's an Arch-based distribution, but with a bit of a twist. So it's an immutable distribution, so not just another Arch-based distro, and it provides tools to allow you to sort of spin up your own deployments as well, which is pretty cool. So we'll take a look at that once we are fully installed and good to go. We'll have a very brief look at the website, but I kind of just want to jump straight into it. So it ships with a very sort of minimal GNOME base using sensible defaults. We have a multi-root architecture, which means if anything breaks during an upgrade, you can just go back to an older deployment and be good to go. And it's using some of the sort of bleeding edge stuff from the GNOME Circle application and all of that good stuff. So underpinning the sort of functions of immutability and deployments and all of that good stuff is a tool called ArcDep. Completely new to me, and so far I do believe it's pretty exclusive to Arch Linux, but it has been tested on other distributions such as Ubuntu, Debian, and Elementary OS, so all kind of Ubuntu, Debian kind of distributions. Now, it has to be said, if you're going to go ahead and install this on any of your own machines, you should consider that these are of beta quality and shouldn't be deployed on sort of your main workstation computers. Now, system requirements wise, it recommends 4 gig as a minimum of RAM, and it needs 64 gig minimum for the immutable distribution. It won't let you install otherwise, but they do offer a non-immutable, so a standard ISO, which is 32 gig. But of course, we're going to go for their flagship immutable ArcDep distribution release. So we're going to jump straight into the live environment, get this installed, and just see how we get on. Right, so here we are in the live environment. So we've got a very small little dialog box here. I'm going to imagine this is the installer. So first up, we're going to choose our language, which is of course English. Welcome to Arkane Linux. This program will guide you through the installation process. So it's quite small, so I'll probably zoom this in when I edit the video so it's easier for us all to see. Okay, first up we need to change our keyboard layout from US to UK. So let's scroll all the way down until we hit UK. And as always, we'll just test it to make sure it's all good before we continue to the next step. Right, so we're going to be using a sort of USB SSD today just to make my life a little bit easier instead of keep putting out SSDs. So we're just going to click that bad boy. So it has no partitions, not that should matter. It should create them for you. And I do believe I read that it uses sort of Btrfs by default and creates some nice subvols for you. So we've got the option here for disk encryption. We're not going to worry about that for today. So we're just going to leave that disabled for now and move on to the next step. So again, it's going to tell you it's going to delete any data, but if you've got this far, you should already know that. And now we're going to create our user. So we don't have any confirm user password box, so make sure you get it right the first time, and we are good to go. Time zone, we're just going to switch that down to Europe, London. So let's go ahead and click that bad boy right there. And in formats, again, I'm going to go for United Kingdom. There we go. Where's default? United Kingdom, English, good stuff. Okay, so we've got a little summary here, so a very sort of easy and straightforward installation process. So we're going to go ahead and press confirm. Right, I'm not sure how long this is going to take, but we do have a nice little button here which should show the output of the sort of terminal letting you know what's going on. So I'm going to imagine it's going to be downloading quite a few packages. So it's going to kind of depend on how fast your internet is. Mine's pretty slow at the moment, so it might be a bit of time, so we'll definitely pause and come back to it. Okay, so it's giving me sort of a 10-minute ETA, so again, depending on your sort of internet speed, your mileage might vary. And finally, the installation has complete, and we can now reboot into our freshly installed Arkane Linux. Right, so here we are. So we have got a notification saying that once a network connection has been established, the installation of core applications will begin, and that's going to be using Flatpak applications. So it hasn't remembered the Wi-Fi network that we activated during setup. So I'm going to quickly connect the Wi-Fi and then we'll keep it moving. Right, so we're all connected to a network now. So that should go ahead and install, I guess, a load of Flatpak applications. Now, Flatpaks are probably going to be the main way you're going to sort of manage and install new applications due to the nature of it being an immutable distribution. So it's going to hopefully just begin grabbing everything from the FlatHub repository, but we'll check all that out in a moment. So I'm not too sure how long that's going to take. Again, it's going to be network dependent for me as well. So as you can see, we've got a very bare bones GNOME installation for the moment. But while we're here, let's quickly jump into GNOME disks and just see if there's done any sort of funky partition layouts. No, pretty standard stuff. So we've got one for our EFI and then we've got one for our root partition using the Btrfs file system. So I'm going to imagine we've got a swap file as opposed to a swap partition. Well, we definitely don't have a swap partition, so we're probably going to be using a swap file, but we'll check all that out in just a moment. Now, there's not really too much we can really do while we're waiting for this to complete. So I think what we will do Let's pop open a terminal. Okay, there's no Control-Alt-T terminal shortcuts. Let's see what terminal we are using. Console, yeah, because it's using sort of the newer applications from the GNOME Circle, trying to be on the bleeding edge there. Do we have htop installed? We do not. Okay, and we're also using ZSH as our default shell as opposed to bash. So if we just go bang, 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 you can see we need a $sign. Bang. You can see there that we're using ZSH as our default shell. Right, what I'm going to do then, I'm going to pause it here while it's going on and installing all those applications, and then we'll come back into it, have a quick look around, and just play around with things, and then we'll jump into the whole ArcDep and see how we do. So while we're waiting, we'll have a quick look at the settings, the About section. So we're going to jump into System Details, and we can see that we're currently using the GNOME version of 45.4, with of course Wayland being our default windowing system. Now, I just want to jump into the appearance because it does appear to be using the sort of very standard GNOME defaults of your little light and dark themes of Adwater and all of that good stuff. And we are indeed. So, of course, switching over, we'll then change the wallpaper from light to dark as well. Right then, so I think what we're going to do then is just sort of wait around to see how things do. I do just want to quickly check the keyboard because I did notice it didn't save the Wi-Fi, and I'm wondering if it saved the preferences for the keyboard. It has not. So as you can see there, it's only got US currently going, which is a bit annoying for me because obviously sort of your home things and stuff just won't work. So let's go and jump over and just change our keyboard shortcut as we've got time to kill while we're waiting for this anyway. So we're going to go ahead and just click plus. And we're going to go to English and we're going to look for English UK. No, we're not. We're going to cancel that. We're going to do that again. And we're going to press these three little bad boys here and just press UK and then go into other. And then it'll be the top one there. Perfect. So now my keyboard should be working as intended once we've moved it up the list. I'm also just going to remove US entirely just to avoid any confusion. And perfect, we are good to go. Right, I'll pause the video and then we'll come back finally once them Flatpak applications have complete. And finally, I do believe we are done. So we did just get a nice notification letting us know that all of the core Flatpak applications are installed. So let's see what they have included in their core set of applications, which are all Flatpak. So we've got firmware, contacts, weather, clocks, maps, camera, so just GNOME stuff really. Using Celluloid as your default media player, which I think is still the default on Linux Mint, isn't it? And then we've got Calculator, Document Scanner, Extensions Manager, which is a very handy application to have, so we can go ahead and quickly install an extension straight from GNOME Extensions. And we are going to grab Caffeine, which will keep the screen enabled while we're just running through in case we're looking at something or reading documentation and we don't wiggle our mouse enough or something. So let's go ahead and just bang that on now as well. Okay, I've noticed it didn't want to open up Celluloid then. We might do a little reboot in a minute just to give things a sort of a second to refresh themselves. Yeah, it doesn't want to open up Celluloid, but we won't worry about that for now. So, Celluloid, we've got Calculator, Settings Manager, we have the System Monitor. So let's see how much we're currently using in our resources at the moment. So we've got 2 gig at the moment, which is a fairly high amount, but I'm going to imagine once we reboot, it's going to go quite down to under a gig, hopefully, because it's quite a bare bones sort of minimal GNOME installation, but we'll see how we do. Right, and then just before we do a quick reboot, we'll see what else we've got. Sound recorder, and then you have your text editor. Yeah, see, quite a few applications don't want to open at the moment, so we will do a reboot in just a second. But first of all, let's go and open up console. And we're just going to type in, hold on, let's make that a bit bigger. We're just going to clear that all off. And we're just going to type in Flatpak remotes to see if we are indeed just grabbing everything from the FlatHub repository, which we are indeed. Now, I imagine most of you that are watching this video know how to manage and install Flatpak applications straight from your terminal. So you can just do your sort of Flatpak search, and let's just say VLC, and that will go ahead and search a repository for VLC, and then you just go ahead and install it. However, we do have a software store, so I'm going to imagine it's got a plugin enabled there to then go ahead and grab that for you who like, for those of you that like to use a GUI to install your applications. Let's go ahead and search. And again, we're going to go VLC and we're going to hit enter. And then we have VLC here. And then as we can see here in the options, it says FlatHub, and that's your only option because you're not really going to be installing native applications from Pacman or anything like that unless you're going to be sort of layering a new deployment, which we will show you in just a moment. So just go ahead and install that and make sure applications are installing absolutely fine. Like I say, we are going to do a reboot because a lot of the applications don't want to open. So we have an application here called Amber Roll, which I don't think I've heard of. And again, that one doesn't want to open either. So what I will do is I'll pause the video here and then we'll come back on a fresh reboot and we'll just make sure the applications are launching as they should. Right, we are back. So we're going to quickly open up the system resource monitor just to double check how much RAM we're using. Okay, so this is reading a little bit over a gig actually. So we're at 1.3, which is a bit heavier than I thought, but I'd imagine if you open up HTOP, it would give you an even lesser reading anyway. We'll do that towards the end once we do a new deployment and have HTOP installed. So not too much to worry about. We'll close that off for now. That's pretty standard for a GNOME install. So let's get rid of that. Now, before we move forward, let's make sure the applications are opening as they should. So what didn't work? We tried celluloid, didn't we? Where's celluloid gone? There it is. Let's give it a second and we'll see why that's not opening. There we go. And we'll just double check that our new installed VLC is also working as it should. And then we also had an issue with a VLC, not VLC, the text editor, didn't we? All picking up the correct themings there for the flat packs. All are very good indeed. Perfect. And now we can just start having a little play around with things. So, as we know, there's a few applications like native packages that we'd like to install right now. What I would for things like GNOME tweaks, changing themes, adding your title bars. Now that can all be done in the terminal anyway, but we like a little GUI sometimes to do certain things. So you'll notice if we open up a terminal, we aren't really going to be able to rely on just installing applications the way we would on a standard Arch install. So we're not going to be able to really just go sudo pacman -s and let's say GNOME tweaks. So I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but it should give us a couple of errors. We'll see how we do. So it's going to find the package for you, as you'd expect. If you press Y, there we go. Loads of errors. So if we scroll up, the main one here, which is going to be causing all of the issues, is the fact that we are on a read-only system. Now, a couple of the sort of root folders have been made they are writable, but they're not the ones that we're going to be using to be able to install applications from. So, as I say, your main way to install new packages and applications, for the most part, is going to be using Flatpak applications, or you can shroot in to a current deployment and add your applications there, kind of like layer in on sort of other immutable distributions like your OpenSUSE and Micro and all of that good stuff. Now, I do believe I saw DistroBox was installed. Is it installed? It's not. So another cool thing to do would be to install DistroBox. I think Podman is. Yeah, so Podman is. So what I would probably do is also install DistroBox as well. So we'll do that in just a moment. So as we know that we can't just install applications the way we usually would, we're going to start using their tools of ArcDep. Okay then, so as we can see, we've got the documentation up here. I've gone through some of it. So we've got the ArcDep deploy. So if we do that without any parameters, it shouldn't really give us too much there because we should be all good to go. But we'll type it anyway. And there we go. So as it's already deployed and there's not really anything to do there, we don't really need to worry about that for the moment. Now, as you can see here, we can mess about with specific images and switch to different desktop environments and all of that good stuff, which we're definitely going to do. But before we do that, I want to go ahead and just try and create our own deployment with a few packages of our own in the package list. So we're going to add things like GNOME tweaks, HTOP, and we'll just chuck in tmux as well just to see how we do. So we want this bit here, spinning custom images with ArcDep build. So what I'm going to quickly do is just go into our home folder and we're going to make a directory called, we're just going to call it deploy, just to make life a bit easier. Right, so we've got a folder now called deploy. And now what it wants us to do is we're going to copy some bad boys over. But I don't want to go ahead and copy this default one because I don't want to go into KDE just yet. So I think what we're going to need to do is see what this current deployment is actually called. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and we're going to copy this bad boy, and then we're going to change the package list, and we're going to see how we do it like that. So let's see where it's grabbing things from. So it's in Etsy ArcDep. So I do believe that's where it's keeping most things. Let's go ahead and just jump into there. So we're going to go bam, like that. I'm just going to CD there, and I just want to sort of see what's in there. All right, what do we got? Right, we've got a few things here. We've got test Manjaro KDE, so that's going to be Manjaro's kind of customizations of KDE. We've even got a Pantheon, which is quite cool, so the sort of desktop environment from Elementary OS. And then we've got the default one that it sort of shows in its documentation, which is KDE. And then I'm going to imagine, and we've got standard Arch Linux, so I imagine we're going to go ahead and want to test this one out because I'm going to assume that's the sort of flagship GNOME version. So if we go back to where we was on this page here, okay, right. So we want to change a few things up in this. So we don't want to copy this, we want to copy this. So we're going to go ahead and copy that into the folder that we've just created. Right, I do believe that is all correct. So let's go ahead and just bang that over now. So that's going to go ahead and copy that deployment that we've got, or that image if you like, into the folder we've just created. Now, what we're going to do is go over to our GUI. So we get our file manager of Nautilus. Again, all very standard GNOME sort of defaults here. And we're going to go into our deploy folder. So there we go. We've got Arkane Linux here, and we have a few sort of text files here. And the one we want to go ahead and play around with is the package list. So if we open this up, you can see there's just going to be a whole big old list of different sort of packages and applications that it's just going to grab using your Pacman package manager. So it should pretty much have everything you need there for the sort of the base install that we're running here. But what we're going to do now is add a few things to it. So I just want to check actually. DistroBox is in the standard. Hold on. It is in the standard Arch repo, isn't it? It is indeed. Okay, we're going to add DistroBox as well because I think that's going to be another way to test applications. Maybe we'll see how it works on this sort of distribution. Right, let's clear all that off and let's get back to our file manager. And then where's our text file? Here we go. So we're going to add GNOME tweaks because I think it's quite an essential tool even now, despite all of the sort of new developments in GNOME, just to sort of change a few things that you might like to change. So we've got GNOME tweaks. We're going to add htop. We're going to add DistroBox, and we're also going to add tmods for good measure. So let's save that file. And now let's see what it wants us to do. So let's close all that off for the moment. Let's open this bad boy back up. Right, now that we've messed about with the package list, blah, 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 blah. Once all desired changes have been made, you can spin a new image by navigating to the parent folder. So the parent folder is going to be, let's go back to bang, bang, bang. Right, so the parent folder we want, I'm going to guess, is deploy, right? So let's go to cd deploy, bang. Let's do a quick ls to make sure it's all there as it should. And now what it wants us to do, once all of the desired changes have been made, you can spin a new image. So we're going to type this in, but of course change the name from custom Linux. In fact, I'm also going to change the name to that folder. So let's call it, let's just call it test. Okay. Right. So now we want to do arcdep build, and then we're going to type in test and see what that throws at us. Right. So we've got arcdep build, and we're just going to write test. I'm going to type in our password. Bang. So it's not like that. Oh, we're back. So we was a bit silly. We we needed to have the folder a different name. So we named it deploy there, but if we just change it to there, that's the actual folder name it's looking for. Bit silly, but there we go. So we're good to go. So that's now going to be building it for us. It's going to take a little time, as I said, again, because my network kind of sucks at the minute. So we're going to pause it here, but what should happen now is it should create a new sort of image for us to go ahead and then use as our sort of default deployment, or our most latest one once we spinned it into the new deployment. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes as it should and we haven't made a silly mistake like naming a folder the incorrect thing. So we'll pause it and we'll be back in just a moment. And we are done. So that's gone ahead and built a new image for us with the new sort of packages that we added in the package list. At least I hope. It wasn't too hard of a process once we realised the silly little mistakes we do. Always goes to show, read the documentation. I like to leave the mistakes in though that I'm making these videos because we can all learn from it, or I can get corrected in the comments and then I can learn from it. Okay, so next up we have this. So we need to copy that now into the arcdep cache because it's not going to be grabbing anything online now. It should just go ahead and have that all cached in the sort of image that we've just created. So what we now need to do is copy that over into the arcdep cache. So let's go ahead and do that now. So what we want to do is just see where we currently are. So let's go into the arcdep folder. And we should have a folder called target inside of the test folder that we created. So if we type in ls, we don't have a folder called target. What's happened there then? Oh no, it's in the home folder. Silly me. Right, let's go back to home. And as you can see there, we have a folder now called target. So what it wants us to do is copy over a compressed image from target. I'll tell you what, let's just go into target because I don't know what the compressed image is going to be called. Right, what is it? Right, quite a long old name there. So let's just go ahead and copy that bad boy straight into our clipboard. Right, where does it need to be copied? Sudo cp into arcdep cache. So let's go ahead and do that now. So sudo cp, and we're just going to copy what we've just copied, paste what we've just copied over, and that's now going to go into arcdep cache. Okay, double check that everything's good. Should be super quick once you've typed in your sudo password, and bang. And that's now been done. So now what we need to do is actually deploy that, and then we're going to need to reboot and then get into it. Now, unfortunately, my capture card isn't really picking anything up sort of in like the BIOS and the actual rebooting process until it sort of loads up your login screen and stuff. So I'll hopefully just show it as an overlay image so you can see what I'm talking about, or give you options to select which sort of deployment you want to go into, kind of like Fedora Silverblue and all of that good stuff. So now we need to go ahead and deploy that. So that's in cache. Let's copy that over. In fact, I have the name there, right. So that's going to be the full name, I do believe. So let's go ahead and do that now. And we're going to copy this bad boy and then paste that. And that should be exactly what it's expecting. So let's do that now and enter. And there we go. So it's now going to go ahead and make that a deployment. So I'm going to pause that for now, and then we'll come back once that's finished and see how we do. And we are done. So as you can see there, adding a bootloader entry and then setting the new bootloader entry as default. So the deployment we just created will boot straight into that now, which we'll go ahead and do. Right, and here we are. So we should have a like-for-like copy of the recent deployment, apart from the few changes we made, like adding those new packages. Let's go ahead and open up the terminal. And let's see if we can go ahead and get htstop just to work. Bang, there we go. Look at that. Very cool stuff indeed. Right. So it pretty much matches up with what the GNOME system monitor said as well. So we are operating at around about the gigabyte mark for a fresh install. But to be honest, that's not too bad whatsoever, especially considering just how cool this distribution is turning out to be so far, to be honest with you. Now, we should also have tweaks. So now we can actually make some tweaks to our system. And of course, while we're here, as you can see, we are indeed using the Adwaita default theming. So let's just go ahead and go into the windows. I just want to add the minimize and maximize. And again, that can all be done with your G settings or your GNOME settings or whatever in your terminal, but it's always a bit easier just to have a nice little GUI if you need to rely on it. So now one thing I did want to check out is just to see if DistroBox works now. So we have installed DistroBox. Right, so now what we're going to go ahead and do is see if DistroBox will work out of the box once we've layered the package in the package list. I'm not too sure how this is going to go, so we're going to find out together. Now, we've just gone ahead and just chosen Fedora because it's pretty standard, easy stuff, isn't it? So we're going to hit enter and see what happens. Okay, so it's going to pull the image for us. We're going to go ahead and press Y. Right, so far, so good. Okay, so it looks like everything is working as it should. Let's go ahead and just test it by installing an application. So we're going to go, there we go. So again, it's going to go ahead and find everything we need. So we're going to go ahead and just press Y, and hopefully that's just going to go grab all of the sort of packages we need now to in order for us to be able to actually launch and run the Remina application from inside this container using DistroBox and Podman. Let's see how we do. So far though, I'm actually really enjoying this distribution. I've always liked immutable distributions. It's been a thing of mine. But I also really like Arch. So just having like a base that's always going to be up to date with the sort of stability of mind, knowing that if anything breaks, you can just roll it back. Very cool. Right, so that's gone ahead and installed it. So let's see what happens if we just type in Remina. Boom. Very cool. I'm very happy that that's just worked without any tinkering required whatsoever. So you've got a load of options in as far as applications go and package management. You can shoot into it and add packages like that. You can do what we've just done and edit a package list and then do a whole new redeployment and kind of create your own little specialized ISO there, which is very cool. And then you can redeploy that over and over again because you can save that in your cache. And every time you break something, you always know I've got this safe one to go back to anyway. Brilliant idea. And then we can also use Flatpaks, which is going to be your main way of just getting your standard desktop applications. And then you also can go ahead and do something like what we've done, install DistroBox. And then you've just got, many options there. So that's brilliant. I'm very happy that that's worked super easy. Now, what I want to do is see how we're going to go ahead and remove entries from our bootloader that we've just done. So I want to delete the one just before that. And then we're going to try one more thing, which is their KDE image, and we'll see how that goes as well. So let's pause it here and then come back. Right, it doesn't really show you the sort of removal stuff on the documentation from what I can find. So we're just going to go ahead and see how we do anyway. So we just typed in arcdep to get a list of the sort of options and syntax. And we've got here arcdep remove. So we're going to go sudo arcdep remove, and we've opened a new tab here and we just ls the deployments folder. So the one that we've just created and we're currently on is this bad boy here. So we're going to want to go ahead and remove this bad boy there. So we're going to try that and see how we do. So let's remove that bad boy like so. Type in our password and boom, there you go. That's going to go ahead and remove that and it should no longer appear on our bootloader. Super happy with that. Once I do a reboot, I'll confirm if that's worked or not. So we'll reboot now and just double check. Right, so we just rebooted and I can confirm that we did in fact remove one of the deployments. Whether it was the right one or not remains to be seen. So let's see if tweaks are still installed. It is indeed. Perfect. Right, the last thing I want to check out is the different images they've got for different desktop environments. Now, what's cool about this idea, you could have like two deployments that you swap in between like every now and then. So you could have different desktop environments, which is something quite cool. So instead of having them to choose in your login screen, and especially when you've got GNOME and KDE installed on the same system, all gets a bit of a nightmare. But this could be a fun little way of jumping between different desktop environments without messing up with the other deployments. So we're going to go back onto their standard introduction now. And here we have the test KDE version. So we're going to go ahead and just copy that straight into our terminal and see if we can deploy that and then reboot into a KDE system, which just sounds very cool. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so again, this is going to take a little bit of a while, so I'll pause it here and then we'll be back once that's finished. And we are done. Again, took a very long time, but we're all good to go. So it's about 15 minutes, but as we can see, we have now got a new bootloader entry, which has been set as the default. So now when we reboot, we should reboot straight in to a Plasma session. And here we are. How cool is that? And as you can see there, it's just Plasma. There's no GNOME there because that's on a completely different deployment. Let's just go ahead and log straight in. I really like this. I think this is very cool. And there you go. We are now running a KDE Plasma on the same distribution, just a completely different deployment from the other one. Anything we do here won't really mess up anything we've done there, and vice versa. Very cool. Right. And as you can see there, different application set. So we've got all of our file managers now instead of Nautilus. We've got Dolphin, as one would expect. Now, I do want to check if it's got the same Flatpaks installed. Let's have a look. So if we go into Multimedia, Celluloid, let's open that up. Now, I did have an issue opening it up on GNOME the first ever time, but here we are absolutely rolling. Oh dear. So as you can see there, there is a bit of an issue with the anti-aliasing there. That's not this distribution specific. So with Arch, a lot of the time it doesn't install the like the Portal GTK package for it to display the fonts correctly on your Flatpak applications. Super easy to fix. So you're just going to want to add a package into your package list, which is, hold on, I might even have it written down. xdg-desktop-portal-gtk, adding that and then sort of going into a new redeployment will then fix all the weird issues of that looking a bit sketchy. I've had to do that on my own Arch installs recently with KDE and everything's fine. So it's a very simple fix there. The only annoyance with this is you're going to have to either just shroot into it, which will probably be quicker, or rebuild it with a new deployment with that package installed. But let's just open up a load of applications and just make sure everything is working as it should. There's our ArcDep folder there. Everything seems to be rolling. And will that open the recent session? It will indeed. And that's from the GNOME session. All right, brilliant. And as if by magic, we are back in our GNOME deployment. I can't get over that. I think that's really cool. Okay, I'm super happy with how things have gone in today's video. I'm going to wrap it up there, but that has been our first look at Arkane Linux. Now, bearing in mind this is all very new, and as they say on their website, any ISOs that are currently hosted should be thought of as better ISOs or images. So if you're going to go ahead and install this yourself, keep in mind of that. But to be fair, in essence, what you've kind of got here is sort of like an unbreakable Arch-based distribution with a lot of versatility thrown into it. So I'm really excited to see where this distribution might go. I'm hoping that it gets continued development and it doesn't just get left by the wayside and things keep getting added to it. But definitely check this one out. I had a lot of fun filming this video and thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.